Hello everybody. Today we are going to be starting our collage project. So for this project you can use anything you have in the house. I used some old magazines that I found, and what you're going to be doing is you are going to be collaging some of those awesome things that you cut out onto your picture. So for example, some flowers, some patterns, maybe some things you like, right? Got a cat here, some colors that you see you like. It could be really anything at all. Newspaper, cereal boxes, magazines. I'm going to be using a glue stick, but you can use any kind of glue. Scissors help, but they're not necessary if you don't have any in your house. You could always do a ripped paper look. Like this one I did ripped on, and it came out like a pretty cool edge. So what you want to do for the first step of your collage is you want to draw it yourself. So I got that stuff done, and remember there's a Google Doc where you can find all of those resources on how to draw yourself. That is on Schoology, and I should have emailed or shared it with you at this point as well. So let's get started, guys. So what I like to do when I do a collage project is I like to get my shapes pre-cut before I get started. And what I mean by pre-cut is just kind of trim out the parts that I know I definitely want to use. Now you definitely want to have your scissors on hand to trim and to edit as you go, but pre-cutting your shapes will definitely save you a huge amount of time. So what I do to start usually is I work my way from big to small when I'm collaging. And you have to keep in mind that with every collage you're going to overlap things, and that ends up making it look really cool. But you know, my word of advice for when you're collaging is, if you know you're going to be overlapping, save the ones that you like the most for last, so you know that they will end up on top. And also maybe have a spare piece of paper as your glue paper so you don't get glue all over the top parts of your pictures or on your paper. Alright, let's get started. Here we go. So I think what I'm going to start with first are some of these bigger flower shapes that I found. And when I collage, you know, I don't really worry about the edges of my paper, because when the glue dries, you can always go along to the edge of your paper and cut off everything that's hanging down. All right. Right, so that's hanging off the edge, but that's okay. Let me switch glue sticks and see if I like this one better. That one was Crayola. Let's see how Elmer's is. Elmer's is a specialty glue company, so that one may be better. Depending on the size of it, you may be able to just put the glue directly on the paper as well. So the goal with this is to fill up that space around you. And what I would say is have a big piece of something that you like that you could use to kind of border yourself with at the end as you start to finish. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with all of my patterns, right? My things that aren't necessarily anything in particular. And then I'll work my way towards my items that I selected that are actual things. I'm pretty full already. When I do collages, I always end up with more stuff than I need. But that's okay. I think that there's something kind of cool about a work of art that has layers, you know? You think about how you want to overlap everything and where you want certain colors. Yeah, this Elmer's Craft Bond is definitely way better than the other glue, so I definitely recommend that. So I'm not really worried about my edges here. I already know I'm going to cut it here where I made my border crease, and even around the paper I'm not worried about if I go over any edge or anything. So like I said, we can always cut that off at the end once everything dries. Right now I'm just having fun and kind of working my way up from my areas that were abstract, right? Just like my colors, shapes, stuff that wasn't anything in particular. I'm slowly working my way towards all the stuff that is something. Starting to come together. That's a good border piece. So this drawing that I made of myself, this is me in my wedding dress. I'm approaching my 1-year anniversary of getting married and thinking about that day. So I decided, what the heck? Draw myself in my wedding dress. I still have to add color to my drawing, but I'll do that afterwards. I usually do color last. And the reason I do color last is because I like to see what colors I end up with on my collage first. That way I can kind of use that to match my colors up. Look, that fits perfectly around my bun. And I used old magazines that I just found lying around the house. Like I said, you guys can use literally anything around the house. You know, make sure you ask your parents first and you're not cutting up their mail. But I mean, as long as they say, you know, they're done with it. Really anything, right? It's kind of a project where you get to go and see what you can find and recycle trash, right? Make an art out of something I would probably throw away. Let's see. I got this big guy here. Maybe he'll line this side here. Or the bottom, that could be cool. Let's do that. Ooh, magic. Yeah, I think it's coming together. Have a couple of these up here, kind of balance it out, one at the top, one at the bottom. You know, and as you're cutting your shapes out, maybe you want to be aware of, you know, their edges and what kind of shapes you're forming. Maybe you want to even be intentional about that. Where to put you? Getting there, slowly filling up. Now I know where to put it. I break up that straight edge. Make it look more natural. And like I said, if you have like little bits of white on the edges, you can have stuff going off and cut it later, or you can just trim where you need for that edge. Now I got a bunch of nature stuff left that I really liked. Start kind of filling in these corners and these sides with some of these nature items that I cut out. I really love bushes for some reason. I think it's because I grew up in the suburbs, a neighborhood full of bushes. Perfect. So I got 2 natures, 4 objects, and my filler pattern left. You know, after you get to this point, you may start doing what I'm doing now and just kind of saying, you know, maybe I only want that one specific part of something. There's a spot right there, put my pomegranate. Get some greens in there. Some greens over here to balance it. Got that straight edge. You probably noticed that whenever I have a straight edge, I try to layer to cover it up to make it look more fluid. That fits very nicely. Alright, so I got some space to fill here, but that's why I got my extra pattern piece set aside. I got some bread and butter and a cat that looks like my cat. Two of my deep loves. Bread and butter, just really, I have a special place for it in my heart. Probably one of my favorite things. Sad as that is. It could be an amazing dinner, and my favorite part will probably still be the bread and butter. So now the question is, what do I want to cover up? I would say maybe Alright, now I gotta figure out, what do I want my cat? I wish my cat could have been at my wedding. Both my cats. I did ask. People said that's weird. I knew. I mean, they would have enjoyed it anyway, that's fine. I got my cat, and then I got my filler pattern. That could be cool. Kind of poking out of the side there. I know he's gonna get trimmed, but that's okay. At this point, just to see what's gonna be kept and what's gonna be trimmed at the end. You know, so it looks something like that, where that crease is, and I'll cut that later once it's dry. So now I got my final little piece of paper here. I have some scraps of green left to kind of fill in those little white spots that are left around me. It doesn't have to be perfectly filled in, right? Maybe I'll add a cool outline for that tiny little piece left. Definitely want to try to get it as close as possible, though. As you work, you may need to go back in and get a couple loose edges. I would say definitely be aware of how much glue you get on your drawing, because if you get too much glue on your drawing, then it can put like a thick layer over it that can make it really hard to finish once it dries. If you get a tiny bit on it, that's fine, but you don't want to like cover your whole thing with glue. So I got, you know, a couple little spots here. If I want to nitpick, I can go in still and fix that. You know, so maybe now I'm going to take some of my extras from the sides and bring them into the center. Bring some of those colors back that we lost. Don't like that there. That kind of looks like my own hair. That's not good. So I guess this would technically be under the category of fine motor skills, right? So cutting, pasting, different than drawing, but still art, more of a craft. And there is a huge difference, especially when you get to college. You can get a degree in crafts or a degree in fine art or digital art. All right, I'm pretty happy with that. So at this point, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to flip it over. And I'll go back into this when it's completely dry with a ruler. And I'll probably cut into the paper a little. Look, that's really loose, so I'm going to have to glue that back down. But for now, just to get an idea of what our finished product's gonna look like. Let's just trim the stuff hanging off the edges. Go back in, make sure everything's completely glued down. There we go. So now all I have to do is add color to myself and maybe go in and add some shading or some kind of outline around that tiny little edge of some of those pieces that didn't line up perfectly. But I'm pretty happy with it. And of course I'll trim the paper down a little once everything's done drying to kind of even everything out. But that is our finished Kehinde Wiley inspired collage. I hope you guys enjoyed this, and I can't wait to see how your finished product looks as well. Thanks for making art with me.